Sing, sing, sing. Yeah, they got to get the little singing down. Okay, now we're good. So thank you for coming. This is one of those traditions that if you're in my homeroom for the past, I don't know, 20-some years, they put on their own interpretation of the Grinch play. So they pretty much do the memorization all on their own. Yay! Yay! That's right here. I love it. Every year it's different. That's what's so cool. Every year. When the kids bring up their interpretation of the lines, this has been the first year where they've actually changed some of the lines. And yeah, my class just went with this. Like, yeah, that's funny. Let's just do this. So they edited Dr. Seuss. So yeah, sorry about that. But this is the 6W's 2015 presentation of how the Grinch stole Christmas.
Yay. Every who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot.
But the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville
did not.
The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season.
Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason.
It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right.
It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight.
But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.
But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's.
Staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm light of windows below in their town.
You know, every who down and who beneath was busy now hanging their mistletoe wreath.
And they're hanging their star, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here.
Then the Grinch growled with a nervous Grinch finger nervously drumming.
I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming.
Tomorrow he knew.
All the new girls and boys.
They wake up bright and early and rush to their toys, and all the noise, 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 noise.
And that's the one thing he hated, the noise, 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 noise.
Oh, would sit down to a feast, and they 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 feast, 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 feast.
They feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast.
Which is something the Grinch could not stand in the least.
Then they do something he liked least of all.
Every who down in Whoville,
The tall.
And the small.
Would stand close together as Christmas bells ring. They'd stand hand in hand and the Who's would start singing.
And they'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing, 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 sing.
And the more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought,
I'm gonna stop this whole thing. What for 53 years I put up with this now. I'm gonna stop Christmas from coming. But how?
then you got an idea.
An awful idea.
The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
I know just what I'll do.
He laughed in his throat and made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat.
And he chuckled and clapped.
With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer.
Then the Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarcer and none to be found.
did that stop the old Grinch?
No!
The Grinch simply said,
If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead.
So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big bow on the top of his head.
Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh and hitched up over. The Grinch said,
Get out!
and the sleigh started down to the homes of the Who's Who's in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air.
All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. And the Grinch then started on the first house on the square.
This is stop number 1.
The old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist.
Then he slid down the chimney.
a rather tight fit.
But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch.
He got stuck only once for a moment or two. He stuck his head out the fireplace lip.
Were the little Who stockings all hung in a row?
These stockings
He grinned.
are the first things to go.
They slurred slumped with the smell most pleasant. Around the whole room, he took every present. Popguns and bicycles.
Roller skates.
Drums, checkboards, dice pickles, popcorn.
Plums.
And he stuffed them in bags. The Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney.
He slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast.
He took the Who pudding.
He took the roast beast.
He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. By that old Grinch, he took the last can of Who's Hash.
And he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee.
And now
Grinned the Grinch.
I shall stuff up the tree.
Then he shoved the tree up when he heard the small sound like the coo of a dove.
He turned around fast, and he saw a small who.
Little Cindy Lou, who was not more than 2.
The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who got out of bed for a cup of cold water.
She stared at the Grinch and said,
Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?
But you know that old Grinch is so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick.
Why, my sweet little tot,
Take Santa Claus light.
there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, my dear, so I'm taking it home to my workshop. I'll fix it up there, and then I'll bring it back here.
And his fifth folded the child, and he patted her head, and he got her a drink and sent her to bed.
and when Cindy Lou went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed their tree up.
The last thing he took was log from the fire.
And then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar.
There was nothing left on the walls but some hooks and some wire.
There was one speck of food in the house that was a crumb even too small for a mouse.
Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses.
Leaving crumbs much too small for the other who's mouse.
It was 15:15 dawn.
All the Who's still in bed.
All the Who's still snooze.
When he packed up the sled.
Then he packed it up with their presents, the ribbons,
The tats.
And the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings.
3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rose with his load to the tip top to dump it.
Who came to the Who's?
the Grinch said, grinchiously humming.
They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two, and all the Who's down in all Whoville will all cry boo-hoo.
And that's a sound
He grinned.
that I simply must hear.
So he paused and the Grinch put a hand to his ear.
And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started low and it started to grow.
But this sound wasn't soft.
But this sound sounded lovely.
Very,
It couldn't be so.
But it was merry.
very.
He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch's eyes popped. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise.
Every Who down in Whoville,
The tall.
And the small.
was singing without any presents at all.
He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming.
It came.
Somehow or other, it came just the same.
The Grinch, with his Grinch feet, stood ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling.
How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bits.
And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas.
He thought,
Doesn't come from the store, maybe Christmas. Perhaps me a little bit more.
And what happened then?
Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. Then the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light.
Then he brought back the toys and the food for the feast.
And he yourself